Standard, standard costing, labor cost, variance analysis. So in this illustration, we have to calculate labor cost variances, labor rate variance, labor efficiency variance, labor mix variance, and labor yield variance. So the number of workers in a gang were categorized into three types: skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled. So standard number of workers in the gang 32, 12, 44, 44 plus 6, 50. So actual number of workers employed 28, 28 plus 18, 46, 46 plus 4, 50. Total 50. Standard wage rate per hour 321. Actual wage rate per hour 432. During the 40 hours working week, the gang produced 1800 standard labor hours of work. So actually standard labor hours. How many standard labor hours are there? So let us calculate the basic information given in the illustration. Total standard hours. So 50 workers into 40 hours. 2000 hours. Actual. Okay, before going to the actual, we'll calculate the each category. Skilled. Okay, I'll just mention it in the brackets. So skilled 32 into 40 plus 32 into 40. 1280. Semi-skilled 12 into 40. 480. Unskilled 6 into 40. Total 2000. Actual hours. Second point is actual hours. So how many actual number of workers were employed? 15 number. 40 hours working week. So 50 into 40 hours. 2000 hours. So coming to skilled 28 into 40. Semi-skilled 18 into 40. Unskilled 4 into 40. comes around 1,120, 720, 160. Here, the another point is the gang produced 1800 standard labor hours of work only, not the 2000 hours. So we have to find out the standard hours produced. So how many standard hours produced? 1800 hours. So we have to rearrange the standard hours for each, and we have to determine the standard hours produced for each and every category of labor. Skilled. So what is the formula for that? Standard hours divided by total standard hours into standard hours produced. Skilled labor. So how many standard hours are there? For skilled labor, 1280 standard labor hours. Total standard hours 2000 hours. 2000. But standard hours produced 1800. So finally 1152 hours. So same type of calculation for the rest of the things. Semi-skilled. So for semi-skilled, standard hours are 480. 480 total number of standard hours 2000 into standard hours produced 1800. So it will be 432. Unskilled, how many standard hours? 240 standard hours. 240 standard hours divided by 2000 into 1800 is equal to 216 hours. Therefore, standard hours produced is equal to 1052 plus 432 plus 216 is equal to 1800. So these are the exact standard hours produced. Okay, these are the revised standard hours. So with this information, we'll just arrange a table mentioning the standards and actuals. So if we arrange a basic information like this, then it will be very easy to calculate the labor cost variances or whatever the variances may be. So category of workers: skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled, total. Standard hours, standard rate, standard amount. Actual hours, actual rate, actual amount. So what are the standard hours? Just now we calculated it. Standard hours produced 1152, 752, and 432, 432, and 216. 216. So total number of hours, total number of standard hours, 1800. So what is the standard rate? Standard rate per hour, 321. 321. So standard cost, 3456, 864, 216. The total is 4536. So coming to the actual hours, 720, 720, and 160. 1120, 720, and 160. So total 2000. Rate, actual rate 432. 432. So amount, actual labor cost 4000, 480, 2160, 320. Total actual labor cost 6960. So labor cost variance. So now onwards, we'll use this table to calculate this labor variances. Labor cost variance. So labor cost variance is the variance between standard cost and actual labor cost. So standard labor cost, standard hours into standard rate. So it is already calculated. Standard hours into standard rate. Standard labor cost 4536 minus 6960. So here minus value is more. In the sense, the prescribed cost for labor is 4000, but company paid excess amount. It means adverse variance. So the difference is adverse variance 2424 adverse. So coming to the labor rate variance, the difference between, let's see, with this table we can identify the variances simply. See, what is the prescribed rate? 3. How much we paid? 4. Means 1 rupees extra. So adverse variance. We cross the limit. Here we cross the limit. For unskilled also we cross the limit. So all three rate variances are adverse variances. Let us calculate. So the difference, the variance is nothing but difference between standard rate and actual rate. So each and every category of labor we have to calculate it. Semi-skilled, unskilled, total labor rate variance. Okay. So actual hours of skilled labor. Actual hours of skilled labor 1120 into standard rate 3 minus actual rate 4 3 minus value, right? Minus value will come, so minus 1120. So we have to mention 1120 adverse. Okay. Next, semi-skilled. Actual hours 720. Standard rate 2, actual rate 3. 720 minus 2 minus 3. 720 into 2 minus 3 is equal to 720. Minus value will come, but we have to mention adverse. Unskilled labor 160 hours into 1 minus 2. Here also we incurred more cost, 1 rupee extra. So 160 adverse. So total labor rate variance. So all are in adverse. We have to combine all variances. 720 plus 160. That is equal to 2000 adverse variance. Because all are in adverse. See, minus values will come. Minus 1120, minus 720, minus 160. So instead of mentioning minus, we have to mention adverse. Now labor efficiency variance. So efficiency variance is nothing but the difference between standard hours and the actual hours. How much efficient we worked, so labor worked. So skilled labor, semi-skilled, unskilled, total labor efficiency variance. So skilled labor standard rate 3, 2, 1, 3. Okay, we'll calculate one by one, no hurry. So standard hours for the skilled labor 1152 minus actual hours 1120. See, we saved some time, 32 hours. 32 into 3. And one more thing, here 32 is in positive, plus, right? Plus value will come. Plus value in the sense favorable variance. 32 into 3, 96. favorable variance, plus value will come. So simply just identify if it is minus value, just mention adverse or A. If it is plus value, then it is a favorable variance. Okay. Semi-skilled. Standard rate is 2. So standard hours 432 minus actual hours 720. So here minus value will come. It means adverse variance 576. 576 adverse. Unskilled labor standard rate is 1. Standard hours are 216. 216 minus actual hours are 160. So here plus value will come, means favorable variance. So 56 favorable variance. So total variances 96 plus 576 adverse variance plus 56 favorable variance. So we have to identify the difference. We have to mention the difference between adverse and favorable. So it comes around 424 adverse. Adverse is high than the favorable. So 424 is an adverse variance. So coming to the labor mix variance, standard rate into revised standard hours minus actual hours. So again, we have to calculate for the each and every category of labor. Unskilled total labor mix variance. So standard rate is so here we have a standard rate 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now we'll go one by one. Revised standard hours. See, the first step itself, we calculated revised standard hours 1280, and these are the standard hours mentioned in the illustration. So 40 hours into 32 number of workers. So totally 50 workers into 40 hours, 2000 hours. But these were revised into standard hours produced. Standard hours produced 1800. So revised standard hours are 1280 for the skilled labor. Okay. So for the semi-skilled labor 480 and unskilled labor 240. I'll just mention it. 480, 240. Okay. Now actual hours. So how many actual hours are there? 1120, 720 and 160. I think it is stuck. 1120, 720, 160. Let us calculate each and every one. So it is in plus value. Plus value is high, means favorable variance. So we have to see, always we have to remember whether it is in plus value or in minus value. If it is in plus value, we have to mention it as a favorable variance. 480 is the difference among favorable. Now coming to the semi-skilled labor, minus value is high, right? Means adverse variance. See, if you are getting confusion, mention it earlier itself, and now calculate the amount. 480, 480 adverse. So 480 positive, favorable, 480 adverse. Now unskilled labor, 80, 80 favorable because plus value is high, right? So total labor mix variance, 480 favorable plus 480 adverse plus 80 favorable. Finally, the difference of difference between favorable and adverse is 80 favorable variance. Now let us calculate the labor yield variance for each and every category of labor. Skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled. Total labor yield variance. So finally, we have to cross-check all the variances whether correct or not. Okay, labor yield variance is the difference between standard hours and revised standard hours. So standard rate, we know 3, 2, and 1. Right? Standard hours, we calculated it. We adjusted it according to the standard hours produced. 1152, 432, and 216. 1152, 432, and 216. Now, revised standard hours. So, revised standard hours 1280, 480, and 240. 1280, 480, 240. The labor yield variance, how many hours we achieved. So how many hours were unable to succeed. So here the prescribed hours are 1280, but we did it only for 1152. So minus value is high, 384 adverse. Okay, so here also minus value is high. So This one is also adverse. 96 adverse variance. Here also minus value is high, means adverse variance. 24 adverse variance. Total labor yield variance is 384 adverse plus 96 adverse variance plus 24 adverse variance. So finally all are adverse variances. So the final variance is 504 adverse. Okay. Now let us calculate labor cost variance and labor efficiency. We already calculated it, we're just cross checking it. Okay, so labor cost variance is equal to labor rate variance plus labor efficiency variance. So labor efficiency variance is equal to labor mix variance plus labor yield variance. Okay, so how much is the labor cost variance? 224 adverse. I'm just copying it. 224 adverse is equal to labor rate variance 2000 adverse. 2000 adverse plus labor efficiency variance must be 424 adverse. Labor efficiency 424 adverse. So we calculated correctly. So let us cross check with the labor efficiency. Labor efficiency 424 adverse is equal to labor mix variance 80 favorable variance. 80 favorable variance plus labor yield variance is 504 adverse. So 504 adverse means the difference is finally adverse 424 adverse. So whatever we did so far is correct. So this is how we have to calculate the labor variances, labor cost variances, and we have to cross check it like this. Okay, only the thing is we have to remember the diagram of labor cost variances. The labor cost variances is divided into two parts: labor rate variance and labor efficiency variance. So labor efficiency variance is subdivided into three parts: labor mix variance, labor ideal variance, and the labor yield variance. In this problem, labor ideal variance not given, so labor yield variance.